All right. Russ, I'm glad we're getting together here and just having a conversation about the challenges and thoughts that people that have brokerages or teams thinking about their challenges. Like what questions do they have? What answers do you have and we have with eXp? So I want to just cue you up and start asking questions because I've talked to quite a few brokerage owners or people thinking about starting a brokerage. They've got quite a few years under their belt and they're like, I can do this on my own.
Yeah.
I'm going to go do it.
Yes.
So,
let me dive on that one real quick because I think this is an important point. There's a lot of people in the real estate industry and they think this is the way the food chain goes. Okay? They start off in the real estate business and they're working as an agent, right? Because solo agent. I did this in other trainings I do in ways I explain this. I call it 0-0. I have zero experience and $0 doing this, right? Doesn't mean they're not 54, 52 years old and I'm starting a real estate business. They're still at 0-0, right? So they start off as an agent. And then the next thing is like when they become a successful agent, well, a lot of times we see is people become a successful agent and then they feel like the next thing in the food chain is like, ooh, a successful agent starts a team, right? And then when they become a successful team, then they say, well, a successful team should start their own brokerage, right? And a lot of this is ego driven, which is fine. I think a good salesperson with a healthy ego, I'm out here, I'm the most amazing thing. I'm out here to kill, crush, and destroy. A good solid ego, which supports you doing a good thing and taking great care of your people. I think that's fantastic. I love it when somebody's like, we're good and we know it. Good, right? We're good and we know it. And that's why we're making this move. We're so good at this. We should do this. And what happens is a lot of people start to do this progression. And then I get a lot of people that are here and here. I do this every month, right? So in December, I had 20 of these new come to me alone. So somebody's like, hey, Russ, can you talk to this guy? And I got 20 of these brokers. And what happens is a lot of these people get in this position. They get in this position by default because they start off here and they think natural progression is start a team. And then natural progression is start a brokerage. And what happens is most of the time, the people that are here don't really know how to run a team. They don't know the organization. They don't know how to really set it up. And they don't have the power. They end up losing more power. So what's the ultimate goal of building a team for most people? Well, I want to sell more houses and I want to help other people grow their business too. It's right, normal team stuff, right? And the problem is when they get in the team and they get rolling, and I had this conversation on Tuesday for like 90 minutes walking outside with this guy. And he's like, Russ, listen, the team really isn't, like at this point, I'm sick of them. Okay. I said, so let me ask you this. You went from being an agent, doing your own thing, and you had one or two people that supported you, and then you build a formal team. Now you have 12 people on the team. And I said, let me guess, you're working way more hours and you're making way less money. And he's like, yeah, exactly. I said, so this is not exactly working out the way you wanted it to, right? So the ultimate goal for this guy is to make more money and work less hours, which is why he builds a team. And then he finds out that the bigger he gets that team, the less hours he's working on his stuff, the more hours he's working on other people's stuff. They're all doing good because these people are amazing and they'll do anything for their team. And the problem is then the team is basically milking them dry. This guy doesn't have time to do their stuff. And the amount that he's able to make off the team doesn't offset the amount of time, energy, and effort and the dollars he's losing because he's not making $500 an hour off of his teammates. But this guy here can make $500 an hour grinding houses out, right? So a lot of times it's like, you should get rid of everybody on your team, get 2 referral partners, 1 admin, go back to being you, focus on listings. You work the listings, push all the buyer stuff that you don't want to deal with off the plate. If you got somebody that's really cool that you love as a buyer, work them. But everything else you push off the plate to 2 referral partners. If they do the job, great. If they don't, you find 2 more referral partners, but you're not responsible for their success. And they're like, dude, I think that's what I want to do with my life. Because this does not serve what they really want. It's not getting what they really want. It gives them a certain level of satisfaction, but in the end, when push comes to shove, the fact that they start a team many times makes it harder for them to ever be able to retire. And that wasn't the goal, right? So then the next thing is the team's doing well, it's reasonably successful, and then they say, oh shoot, if I could do that with a team, I could do that with 30, 40, 50 agents. And the problem is that this guy right here spends 50% of his time on his business and 50% of his time on the agent's business. This guy over here spends 100% of his time on his business. Okay. And then this guy right here, at the 30 and 40 agents, he's spending 20% of the time on his business and 80% of the time on the other people's business in the back end of the business of running the brokerage part, right? So what happens is If this guy, God forbid, he gets to 40 or 50 agents, this guy's going to spend 90% of his time doing stuff that he doesn't love. Okay. So here's the rub. Okay. So it doesn't serve the ultimate goal. It does not serve what they originally intended it to do. Right. So here's the difference we're talking about with eXp. So I'll keep this really simple for you here. Okay. And this is the conversation I'm having with these guys over here. Most people don't really understand what eXp actually is doing and what it did and why it's so revolutionary. So when you're looking at a person that's a team or a brokerage and they get up to this point, number one, typically what you'll find is when I ask this guy, what do you love to do? He'll say, I love teaching, training, coaching agents and helping other people be successful. I just really dig that, right? I said, all right, cool. So what else do you love? Fishing, whatever, right? I said, okay, great. Well, I noticed that you didn't mention compliance and you didn't mention accounting and bookkeeping and paperwork and ethics related stuff and contract related stuff and the paperwork related stuff and then dealing with toilet paper and dealing with admin people and dealing with hires and leases and E&O insurance. You didn't mention all the back end part of the business stuff, right? Mm-hmm. I said, so what happens is you got your business brilliant. The more you build your business, the less you get to work on the stuff that you love and the more you have to work on the back end of the business because somebody's got to run the business. And if you do a good job of it, you can push some of that off on other people, but you'll still never get back to the amount of time that you were spending doing the stuff you love when you're running a team, or definitely not as much time spending time to doing what you love as an agent, right? So here's a scenario. In what you built, whether this be your brokerage or if you have your brokerage under a franchise, whether it's your own brokerage or a franchise, in this scenario here, you get to do all the stuff that you love about 10% of the time, and all of the stuff you don't love about 90% of the time if you build this into something real. If you've got a smaller brokerage, which is why a lot of people keep it smaller, what happens is they get to like 20 agents, 30 agents, and then they realize they're spending 75% of their time on the back end of the business, only 25% of their time on the front end of the business and the people part of the business. And then what happens is they stall here. And the only way they can get to 40 or 50 is if they get somebody else to free them up or get somebody else to help the build part. I don't have time to build the thing anymore. Yeah. So now I'm in this stall where I'm not making enough money to pay my bills and pay the company bill. I pay the company bills and my bills. Most of these small brokerages at 20 and 30 agents are losing a little bit of money every month, right? That's normal. So the owner now has to sell houses, which means he has even less time to take care of his people because he's still got to pay his bills and he's got to pay his bills at his own house and pay his electric at his own house. So this guy gets stuck in this death loop. And then after a while, he's finally like, why am I doing this? I'm just treading water every month. If I just run this thing into a brick wall, slam it into a brick wall, light it on fire and walk away like Terminator, I will have way more time on my hands and probably way more money. Because as a single agent, they're making $300,000 and $400,000 a year. Running this, they're making zero on the brokerage and they're making $200,000 a year because they just don't have the time to do the sales like they used to. So you see, this becomes a death trap for them. So in this scenario, whether it's your franchise, you're going under a franchise, co-op banker, C21, GMAC, whatever, exit, entry, red door, black door, blue door, green door, doggy door, whatever you call that brokerage, right? Any of those, you have to do both sides, the stuff that you love and the stuff that you don't love. And the bigger you get, the less you get to do the stuff you love. It's a death march for most people, okay? Yeah. So with that said, the difference between what you're doing and what we're doing with eXp is basically the box, okay? This is the platform that you get to play on. So what happens is when you shift over to eXp, can you still keep your team together? Sure. Can you still keep your branding look together? Sure. Can you still keep the flavor? Absolutely. Can you keep that tribal feel that you built that you love? Go back to the stuff that you loved about that? Absolutely. So what happens is eXp takes that 90% of the stuff, all of the things that weren't on your I like to do list, 90% of that stuff gets taken care of by eXp, and you get back to doing the 90% of the stuff you do love. So on this scenario here, we get you back to teaching, training, coaching, loving people to success. You want to add more people to your system? Sure, that's fine, okay? And then we have the ability to actually, you can convert this and build this and run this more like a team, which gets you back to more what you were loving doing. And then we have this secondary thing that you can do also, which is building an organization. So in a couple of hours a week, in the process of building everything out, You have the ability to build a team, which is trading time for money, selling houses. Okay. And then you have the ability to actually do this people equals cash equation also with eXp. So in this scenario here, you really knock it out of the park, you get to 40 agents.
Yeah.
In this scenario here, you can have your team, your core team, cover the house sales part. And in the process of building that, you can start building an organization. And if you have an organization where you have a weekly meeting and you have a weekly mastermind, you have 2 or 3 hours worth of strategic stuff that all of these people can benefit from, you can have a scenario with your organization where you can have 200 to 300 people in your organization over the next 4, 5, 6 years, which means you can help way more families and way more people and change way more lives, which is what you said you love. Okay. And then when you really get after this, you want to do this for a couple of years, you could be looking at 3,000, 4,000, 5,000, 6,000 people in your organization. You can never do that here. Just the runway's too short, right? So this guy over here now gets to build his secret sauce, take his secret sauce and that person, that cult of personality that people follow, and build your tribe, build your flavor, build your brand. That guy has the freedom to do that, okay? That one a little different, right? But a lot of people don't understand this mindset, and these people get into this thing and they get trapped. And a lot of times, for almost all of the people I talked to in December, they want to be this guy. They don't want to be this guy, right?
So another question that I run into when I'm talking to people that are wanting to start a brokerage or have a brokerage and are looking at the eXp model, they're like, well, I want to keep my branding. I want to keep my culture. I want autonomy, right? Like that's a basic human need.
Yeah.
How does eXp solve that? Like, can you dive into that?
Yeah, sure. Absolutely. So here's the fun part. When we look at the way this system works, what most people think of and the classic thought process in the real estate industry across the board is I'm building something under an umbrella, whether it's my own brand, my own flavor, my own feel, my own brokerage, independent brokerage, a boutique brokerage feel, right? Or I'm going to go under GMAC, or I'm going to go under C21 or KW or Colwell or whatever those bigger brand name franchises are. Either way, typically when they build that, they have rules under the franchise that they have to follow. And a lot of these boutique brokerages are like, well, I don't want to be Colwell because I don't want Colwell all over everything, right? I don't want to be KW because I don't want to have KW all over everything. I want it to be about me. Because here's the fun part. This guy realizes over here, like nobody's buying Colwell. Nobody's buying GMAC. Nobody ever called me up and said, hey, Russ, I saw a Prudential logo on your card. And I was wondering if you do financial services. By the way, they did ask me that actually. They never asked me if I would do real, like you, because you're Prudential, I want to use you as a real estate agent. Most of the time they're like, Prudential does real estate? I didn't realize that would be a problem until I dealt with it, right? So a lot of times that brand is more important than the agent to the brand, right? And these guys that are under these brands realize after a little while, you know what? It isn't about the brand. It's the efforts that I'm doing. It's the things that I'm doing. It's the marketing that I'm doing. It's the branding that I'm doing. It's my personality, my style, my flavor, my marketing. It's me that they're buying. And it just happens to have a Coldwell Banker on the logo or on the business card or on the sign, right? So when we're looking at this shift, we take this guy under these big brands and we put them on the eXp platform and really say, it is all about you. You can have your own brand. You can have your own flavor. You can have your own name. You can have your own colors. You can have your own logo. You can have your own style. And you can attract the types of people. Like there's a dude that has a bunch of tattoos and everybody in his group has a bunch of tattoos. Looks like a tattoo party. It's the craziest thing, right? And then there's other people that have their different flavors and their different styles. So you're free to do whatever you want. If it's legal, ethical, and compliant with the state rules, you can do whatever you want on this eXp platform, which is complete opposite of what most people think, because most people think that this looks like this, where you go under their umbrella and they're going to put their thumb on you and make you do it their way, and it's got to be eXp, and it's eXp first. So here's the deal. Let me show you this. This drawing actually really makes sense to a lot of people because they see these signs in the yard all the time, right? Okay. So in the in this brand, and by the way, all of you boutique people, you do this to all your people, okay? Just want to call you out for it, okay? So boutique, let's say boutique brand. So let's just say KW, just because it's easy and it's 2 letters and I can spell it, okay? KW, it's KW brand, and then you got James Brown down here in the corner, right? It's KW, and if you're lucky, you can put your name here, right? But the site is a KW. So they don't look at it and go, oh, that's James Brown's sign. They go, that's KW sign. Oh, and that's James Brown, right? In the scenario with eXp, here's the fun part. I'm going to say in the eXp ecosystem, you could do James Brown, and then depending on what state you're in the bottom corner over here, it's like brokered by eXp. Okay. Yeah. Well, this one right here says KW, James Brown. This one says James Brown, eXp. Okay. Yeah. So in our brand and our scenario and our system, in all of these, including these boutiques, they make it about the boutique. They make it about the brand. I've got a buddy of mine named Frank in Tampa. They do an amazing job. He's got his boutique brokerage. It's Frank Albert Realty. Love the guy. He's doing a great job. He's got the boutique, but everything says F-A-R. Frank Albert Realty, big F-A-R on everything. And then you get Chloe's name here, and you get Steve's name here, and you got Chandler's name here. And they do a brilliant job, and they're doing a great job for it. So, but everything is about that brand. And the eXp ecosystem, it's all about you. You can do whatever you want, call yourself whatever you want, logo whatever you want. So if you got James Brown Group, boom, done. In almost every state, that's fine. Okay, James Brown Group, and then it'll brokered by eXp. Some of the states say, the James Brown has to have similar size font with eXp. There's some states that have those rules, but for the ones that don't have those rules, as long as it fits it has to be X amount of size, so it's not hidden. It's readily visible. We know what the actual brokerage is, but it is literally about you. So you can have your own logo, you can have your own style, you can have your own like big JB, fancy JB, brand, whatever you want, you can do that. And then when you get that, a lot of people say, well, but eXp is going to put their thumb on me, make me do everything their way. Again, it comes back to if it's legal, honest, and ethical, we're going to let you do what you want to do. I mean, Glenn Sanford, the founder of eXp, came out of KW, right? And the one thing he said is it's not about the brand, it's about the agent. And the agent is the brand. So let's let the agent do what they need to do. And if it makes sense, we'll let them. Now, if you're doing something illegal, unethical, or going to harm people, we're going to put a thumb on you, right? But when it comes down to it and push comes to shove on that, now this also has some additional benefits. So instead of you being the brand and the broker, and you being the end-all, be-all decider, you have a team of brokers that you work under, which removes your liability, which is huge, right? Think about the lawsuits that are coming through in the industry in Missouri and so forth, and these copycat lawsuits are coming through on the commission stuff. The people that are under the eXp brokerage now, you shut your brokerage down, move it under eXp, that brokerage is cut down, there's nothing to sue. Okay, so it becomes a safe harbor for a lot of these brokerages. If they shut the actual brokerage all the way down, there's nothing left to sue. So we've got people jumping over going like, it's just not worth it anymore. And if I can go over there and go James Brown Realty, James Brown Group, instead of James Brown Real Estate Company, James Brown Realty over here, I can use the same logo and just put a little sticker that says group on it. Like I can literally look exactly the same so I don't lose the flavor, the feel, and the goodwill and the recognition in the brand and the market. I can keep all of that in place and remove the liability. And by the way, I've got 20 or 30 agents under me here on this thing. And these 20 or 30 agents now have a couple of additional benefits. They have a broker on duty, typically between, in most states between 9 a.m. and 9 p.m. They've got people available on the weekends. Most of these states have 4 to 13. I think Texas has 13 brokers in it. Mm-hmm. And there's always somebody on duty. I don't know about you, but I'm not always on duty. I try to do, I'm on this right now. You couldn't get me if you wanted to when I'm on this. If I do 2 or 3 of these back to back, which are important, somebody can't get a hold of me for 3 hours. But these guys, they have somebody that's on duty. Very rarely do you have to wait more than 10, 15, 20 minutes to actually talk to a live human. We have an 800 concierge line, the 888 number, the concierge line, which basically any agent in this group say, guys, if you're stuck on something, call the 800 number and they can direct you to the right person. We have eXp World, which gives you the ability to walk in and say, I know, James, you ever had this problem as a broker owner? Friday, closing. And I always tell my people, never do a closing Friday, and definitely don't do it Friday afternoon, and definitely don't do it Friday afternoon the day before a holiday. And the last Friday of the month, you're asking for a problem, right? And of course, they book a Friday last of the month, like they had no choice what day they choose, right? So they book a Friday, it's booked for 3 o'clock, and then it gets delayed. Next thing you know, it closes at 7. And they got the check, and the title company cuts the check wrong. And then they're like, oh my God, I got to buy Christmas presents. It's just happened, right? I got to buy Christmas presents. I don't have any money. And I can't buy it. You get on the eXp World, you go to the accounting department and say to the accounting department, hey, we got a check cut wrong. And in a lot of our states right now, you could say, okay, shoot me a picture of the check. I shoot a picture of the check, they'll wire the money into my account.
Yep. Just did that last week.
Dude, it's like, dude, I can't do that. I'm like, Friday night, I'm going to go out to dinner with my friends and family. I'm going to be goofing off. I'm going to have a good time. And next thing you know, I look down at my phone. I'm like, it's Lynn again. Freaking Lynn. It's now 9:30 and I can't fix this at 9:30 at night. What am I going to drive over to her house? So I'm like, all right, fine. So I literally Saturday morning, give her $1,000 cash to solve the problem because I can't fix it till next week anyway. Like that's the kind of stuff that brokers end up doing because they're good people. They don't want their people stuck. So you the ability to have a full set of support in World. The other thing I love in World, and I don't know about you, but I'm not super tech savvy, but my agents come to me all the time and they're like, man, I can't figure out how to do this on my computer. We have a tech outpost that can solve most of your tech problems. They'll even jump on your computer and help you sort through things as long as it's business related. They'll help you in the tech world, help you sort through problems. There's a couple of other things that go along with that. So this guy over here has all of these support systems in place. Not to mention we have the teaching, training, coaching. We have university. Okay. I don't know about you, but I can only teach on things that I know. And I don't know everything. But if I've got, 90,000 people to pick from, and a lot of them are going to contribute. We've got our top 3% in the company called icons. The icons get credited for contributing to university. So they go, hey, you're some of our top producers. Show people what you're doing. You got a whole resource of top producers showing everybody what they're doing. They open up their playbook. Because like I'm in Detroit. Where are you?
I'm in Colorado.
Like, I don't care if you know what I'm doing. It's not like you're going to compete with me in Detroit, right? So I'll show you everything I'm doing in detail.
Yeah.
So we have this sense of collaboration. Now I've got a whole library of things that I would never have known or learned. Like I'm not a social media maven. We've got social media people blowing things up, making real money. We got people making more money on YouTube, doing YouTube channel stuff than they're doing selling houses. Like, and that's part of their real estate business. So you've got the ability to have a university full of teaching, training, coaching, and support. And these guys, you can direct them to it. So the ones that want to run, they can have way more than I can provide. And now I just become the cheerleader for them. So instead of having to solve all their problems, I point them at the solutions, and that's only a small cross section. So let me ask you, as a broker owner, do you want to be the guy that has to be the chef and the bottle washer and the dishwasher and the floor sweeper and the chair organizer and the chair order person and the food order person and the prep person, the cleanup person in the kitchen and the repair guy that's what you do. You run every job in the business here. Let's get you back to doing what you love. And you have the support that you've never had before. And this guy over here now can provide a better environment for all of his people. And you can still have the look and flavor you want. It's a win all the way across the board. The guys over here are making money. The guys over here, if they're doing a really great job, they're profitable 1%, 2%, 3%. We see a small brokerage that's profitable 5%. That's rock star level. These guys are profitable by way more than that because now they're free to do the things that make them money instead of all the back end stuff that doesn't make them money but still has to get done. Interesting shift, huh?
Yeah. I joined eXp from the beginning. I didn't start somewhere else to really understand what I'd walked into. I mean, I'd looked over the model and spent about a year trying to figure out which brokerage to join as a brand new agent. And now it's starting to sink in. And the more people I talk to that do have brokerages that have brought their brokerages over, now it's all clicking. I'm like, okay, that's why. So
this becomes a masterclass on how. So most of these guys that are running their own brokerages over here, this is a masterclass on how to actually make money doing this. And that's why a lot of these brokerages are like, you know what? Yeah, I do want to go back to that. And they jump like, I see it. Yes, I want my life back. I want my world back. I want my income back. I want my freedom back. Because this guy starts his real estate brokerage because he loves people and he wants the freedom to do whatever he wants to do. And then what he doesn't realize is he just built a gilded cage. It's his own cage. He built around himself. And he can fly around all he wants within the cage that he built for himself. And the more people he gets, the more that cage constricts. It doesn't get bigger. It gets smaller. So the worst thing you could do is grow the amount of people, because the more people you get, the smaller that cage gets. The more the requirements get on you, the more stuff they heap on your shoulder. Every single one of these people in this brokerage gets heaped on their shoulders. Everyone that adds into this brokerage gets gets heaped onto the platform. So they go here, right? They don't go on their shoulder here. They go down here, right? So we start plugging these people down. That's how you can build something that's massive. So if you are the type of person and personality that attracts people to you, and you're the type of person and personality that people love, you're the type of personality that people are willing to follow, you are a true leader, which means people are following you whether you like it or not. They keep shoving you out front. This gives you the opportunity to stand out front loud and proud and be the best you, and then not have all the rest of the boat anchor stuff that goes with it, and not have to have all of these people on your shoulder. Now you have them at your side. Now you have them behind you. Now you have them trailing like baby ducks instead of everyone piling on your head. The more people you get, the heavier the weight gets. And after a while, you're just like, I'm done. And we see in brokerage after brokerage after brokerage after brokerage, I want to be set free. And that's what we do. And you're going to have to make a couple of minor adjustments. No big deal. You got a ton of flexibility and freedom on the eXp platform to do that. And the protections and people behind you to back you up on the things that you don't know. It's a win-win all the way across the board. Why wouldn't you do it? And a lot of them go, okay, makes sense. Let's do it. Okay. Some of them do it like first conversation. You're like, that's what I want. Let's make that happen. How do we do that? Great. Let's talk about the numbers, run through some scenarios. Let's talk about what it would look like, where we shuffle your people. How do we build this so you're actually a team on our platform versus being a brokerage on our platform? You're a team, but you're going to function just like a brokerage. You're just going to utilize all of our tools on the back end. And then, and let's show you what you would make and put in your pocket. And for almost all of them, it's way more money than they're putting in their pocket now. I had a guy say to me, Russ, he's a Century 21 guy, C21. He's got 21, 22 people. Went through the whole thing, right? And I said, all right, so here's the deal, man. So what do you need right now to make this decision? And he says, Russ, I want you to make it hurt. I don't know exactly what that means, but let's walk through the message. Like we're going to present the numbers, right? So what's it going to take for you to make the move? He's like, I want you to make it hurt. I'm like, all right, cool. Let me show you the bottom line on this thing. And he goes, okay. I said, so let me explain to you what this means. And he had a whole wall full of trophies in the back end. They call them, I don't know what they call them. They look like Oscars, Centurion Awards, C21 Centurion Awards. They love gold stuff apparently. So he's got the whole wall full of Centurion Awards. I said, hey, here's what's going to make you cry. You're not going to get a Centurion Award next year. You've got 20 of them up there. You've been doing it 20 years. You got 20 of them up there. You're not going to get a Centurion next year. So what you're going to do though is you're going to get a briefcase, and you're going to take that briefcase, and inside that briefcase, you're going to walk into the Ferrari dealer. He likes cars too, by the way. You're going to walk into the Ferrari dealer. You're going to hand that briefcase to him and say, take half of this and I'll take that car. And they take half the cash out of that suitcase and they give you the Ferrari 458 brand new. And then you take that suitcase back home and you hand it to your wife and you say to your wife, here, honey, here's the other $325,000 left. You can do whatever you want with that too. $650,000 more dollars in your pocket than what you're currently doing for 1 year. Well, hold on. You said you're going to be in business for 10 years. That means $6.5 million more dollars in your pocket over the next 10 years doing this versus doing what you're doing right now. So I don't know. Is that going to make you cry? Does that hurt? And he's like, that actually really hurts. I wasn't expecting it to hurt like that. So we ran the math and the way he runs his people and runs his team and the shifts that he was going to make. It was a $650,000 difference for him. Now what? Of course, he had real estate and stuff tied to it and a lot of that stuff, and you can liquidate and remove a lot of the back end expenses because you don't have to have all the other stuff. So he was able to eliminate a ton of expenses and a ton of the back end stuff and put more dollars in his pocket. And by the way, he was selling a bunch of houses too. So he gets to keep those dollars instead of having to put it in to keep the business running. So an extreme scenario, but a real one. And he moved. So he's like, yeah, man, let's go rock and roll. Okay.
Cool.
So that's a shift.
I guess my next question is, if somebody wanted to dive into this with you, run through the numbers and all the logistics, can I introduce them direct to you? And what would you go over?
Man, I don't want to talk to these people. I'm kidding. Yes, that's what I'm for. So we have a growth team, and the growth team has 5 full-time people on it. I'm one of them. I'm a senior director of growth. My territory is West and Central U.S. Colorado is part of my territory. Okay, and then we have the VP over West, which is Sean Murphy. And he just kind of lets me do whatever I do, which is great. He lets me be that guy, do what I want to do. Okay, go out there, make a difference, and have some fun doing it. Okay. So in this system, the first thing we do typically is say, okay, Russ, I've got somebody that's interested. we're going to do a 15-minute conversation where you and I will just sit down and have a conversation, be like, okay, what are we talking about? What are we doing? And you kind of give me a quick overview, because the last thing I want to do is jump on a call completely blind with no understanding and no intel, and maybe even be on a call with the wrong person. So I know you wouldn't do that to me, but there's a number of people that are like, I want you to talk to this brokerage. I'm like, cool. We get on there and they're like, all right, so why would I join eXp? They don't know the comp plan. They don't know anything, right? I'm like, oh my God, I got to spend an hour getting like, oh, what's the comp plan? Okay. We need to make sure that they have a decent understanding of eXp. They've watched an eXp Explained or something like that, so they have a decent understanding of the core of what eXp is. And then if they want to have additional conversation, let's talk and move forward, okay? So that's 15-minute conversation. By the end of that, we'll say, okay, cool, James, let's go. And then we'll book a 45-minute conversation with them. That first conversation is really Q&A. I like to say, in that first conversation, what we're trying to decide is eXp a good fit for me or not? Okay. Do you want to be this guy, stay this guy, or do you want to be that guy? Okay. At the end of that conversation, a lot of times they're like, I want to be that guy. Okay, cool. If you want to be that guy, and then we'll have some questions and so forth. And they're like, okay, so how do I do this? And like, does the number part make sense? So the third conversation is typically going to be a production report, and we're going to break down their numbers. So we'll take your people and we'll stick them into a spreadsheet, and we'll say, based on that production for last year, cool part is right now it's 2023, numbers are clean. So you're like, for the whole month of 2023, here's what your people did. Here's what they paid you, and here's what it would cost for them to be at eXp. And then we've got 2 or 3 ways we can set you up here. And based on which one you want to do, here's what you make on that one. Here's what you make on that one. Here's what you make on that one. So you've got a couple of different choices to figure out which way you want to go, okay? It also depends on what this guy wants to do. Does this guy want to get free and not have to deal with his people anymore? It's like, I'm going to move it over and I'll let them do their own thing. Cool. We've got a plan for that. They want to come over and keep the team together, and they want to make some money off of a couple people on the team and let the other people do their own thing. Fine. We got a way to do that. The fun part is every one of those people they bring over, they can make money off of them for buying, selling houses on the team. And if they don't want them actually on the team, but they still want them in their world, they can have them on the organization. And instead of making money off of every sale, they make money off of revenue, which is off of every sale, plus the revenue from every sale. And that comes off of our side. Right. Excuse me, comes off of our side. We call that revenue share. Okay. So they have multiple options, and we put together which option makes the most sense for who you want to be and how much control you want to have, well, how much of a life you want to have, get you back to doing what you love. So let's make sure we're making good decisions, not just, I want to make sure I take care of everybody, and you build a situation where you suffer here too. So let's figure out which situation gets you to where you really want to be and what those numbers look like. And it's just a matter of, does that make sense or not? eXp makes sense, and those numbers, does that make sense? And here's what you get. Can you work with that? And if you want to really take it to the next level, let's talk about what that could potentially look like over the next 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 years. That's why I get that guy. I'm like, it's $650,000 more a year to you. And you're going to be in business 10 years. That's $6.5 more million in your pocket, just making that shift over to here. Now, that's not the norm. A lot of them, we see 3 and 4 and 500,000 all the time. Net shift difference for them. Okay. So, and then at that point, if they say, yeah, let's go, then the fourth step is we have what we call our brokerage integration specialists, and we have them in on the conversations. And then we say, okay, how exactly do I do this? And we're going to help you do it. You're not going to have to figure it out yourself. We have brokerage integration specialists. Our integrations people are trained and taught exactly how to make that move and make it as smooth as possible and help you transition all of your people and get you moving over here and get everything set up. Cool. I'm involved in this one. And then when these guys get to the point where they're going to implement what we put together, I get out of the way and I move on to the next guy. And these guys take over and help with the whole process. So just got done with a call right before this one. And Michael, our brokerage integration specialist, is like, oh, John, I didn't realize you were on this thing too. They helped John move his brokerage in like 6 or 7 months ago. 3-ring circus in Ohio. Lots of things fly in a bunch of different directions. It was amazing. And Michael's like, man, that was a challenge. That one was a real challenge because he had some other things in property management and so forth. And the brokerage integration, he's like, you really helped us navigate that really well. I'm like, that's why Michael's awesome. That's why he's one of those guys. So he took something that was a mess and helped make sense of it. So this guy doesn't come over here to rip all his hair out. These guys are there to help. None of those transitions go perfect. We almost always lose people in the transition because this guy here thinks all of his people love him to death and they follow me anywhere. And then you make that move and they realize that that's not in their best interest because they were taking advantage of this guy and they're at 95-5 splits with no other costs. And this guy, they're going to have to put some money out of their pocket over on the other side. And they're going to go like, I'm just going to go to the lowest bidder. The Walmart people are going to stay and find another Walmart, right? So depending on what your system is, your setup is, if you're a more traditional brokerage and you got a lot of your people at 70-30 splits or 80-20 splits, those people transition great. If you're one of the 100% companies, we do lose some people in that transition, but typically this guy, he's not making any money either. And he's like, I'll give up 50% of my people so I don't have to lose my butt every year. So it depends on the situation, the scenario, what they bring. But we never move everybody. It's very, very rare. But we're going to move the ones that matter most of the time. Right. Keep in mind, a lot of these brokerages, half the agents do $0. Sometimes we'll be like, hey, we're shutting down the brokerage. No response. Hey, shutting down the brokerage. I left you a voicemail. We're shutting down the brokerage. Just wanted to let you know you need to reach out to me so we can make this transition. Nothing. Text them. Nothing. 3 months later, they're like, hey, man, I'm trying to do a deal and I can't get into any systems. Like, we shut the brokerage down 3 months ago and you didn't even notice. And I called you 3 times, emailed you 3 times, and texted you 3 times and didn't get a response. Well, had stuff go, what? We have those people, you're going to lose them. And by the way, half the time these brokers are like, there's a bunch of people I want to lose. If I could run through the park and those kids don't follow me, that'd be great.
Yeah. 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 I remember hearing a story. Somebody, blanking his name, it was at eXp Con. He lost a few when he brought his over. Yeah. But eXp's worldwide. He built an organization that was 10 times what he had before. Yeah. And you got rid of the ones that just didn't get it.
These guys in Ohio were 20, 30 agents. That's why I'm using this, because I literally just talked to them. They're 20, 30 agents. And they're like, okay, so we made the move 6 months ago, 8 months ago. I think he said he just hit 97 in his organization. So he still has his 20 or so agents, but he's got 97 in his organization. And the conversation we were having is another broker is now moving over with them and they're going to break 40 or 50 people. So he's going to have 130 people in his organization by the end of the next month. And he's like, dude, we're going to break 500 in the organization. And this guy here, he spends 3, 4, 5 hours on the direct input stuff. And then of course, supporting people and so forth, but he's going to have 500 people in his organization by the end of the year, his words. And he just decimated another Keller Williams office in that market because the leadership isn't doing what they're supposed to. It's like, they're just not showing up. They're turtling right now. They're not making any money. They're not standing up. They're not doing their part. The people are just like, if you guys aren't going to lead, we're going to go find another leader. And they're following him because he was one of the top teams and one of the leaders in the office. When he left, the leadership left. He didn't own it, but that was where the leadership was. He was their go-to guy. So now he's over here. He's like, you guys want to follow me? Come on, let's go. Yep. Right? And we just walked through. We had this conversation. The guy's like, I just need the numbers, man. I just need the numbers. So he's going to pull a team right now with 5 agents and $50 million in production. Oh, he's like, we're going to do the math for him. And he's like, I'll go over here. And then that guy could build an organization if he wants to also, because he's young. He's like, I'm going to do this for 20 more years. I'm like, do it over here, dude. Long-term game. So you've got the benefits of the income. It costs less dollars net at the end of the year for him because he's going to hit Icon, get the stock options and get the stock grants and then the agent stock grants and the production stock grants. And he's going to invest that 5% himself on every transaction. There's a bunch of different things he's going to do over the next 20 years. That's going to put millions more dollars in his pocket from where he's at now.
Yeah. Those, that calculator call, it's what I call it. That's the eye-opening thing. People don't really get it until they see numbers and they're like, oh my goodness. Okay, now I'm listening, right?
Yeah. So in most of these franchise models like these guys, they're paying 5 to 8%. I got this C21 office, they're paying 8% franchise fee, right? So let's just say 6 is the norm, right? And this guy's doing $300,000+ a year in gross. So that's $18,000 a year he's paying to a franchise fee. So, okay, in 10 years, it's $180,000. In 20 years, it's $360,000. If the stock we give him doesn't go up $1 by him investing in himself, he's going to be able to put that money in his pocket versus just coughing it up to somebody else. So, like, that's one part of the game. And also, he's paying this guy's in a Coldwell office. He's got $110,000 he paid last year to Coldwell. He's going to be in the 50-ish or so thousand with him and his whole team here for the whole year. And he's planning on doubling his business, which means this can go to 220 a year, and we're only going to go to about 70. Okay, so net, 220, 70, we're what, 180, $150,000 net more per year. If he doubles his business like he says he was, and he's on a trajectory for it, it's not like he's saying he's going to do something crazy. He's going to have an extra $150,000 a year between being in Coldwell and being here. 150 more times 10 years, it's 1.5 million. He's going to be in business 20 years, which means $3 more million he's going to have in his pocket at the 20-year mark. Plus the 360 that he saves for himself. So he's got 3.3 million more dollars at the 20-year mark. And I was like, dude, Arthur, great name, right? Arthur. What you're thinking is like, well, it's only 50 or 60,000. It's only 50 or 60,000. It's like, it's 3 million. Your math based off of what you told me, it's a $3 million difference net to you. And by the way, that doesn't even have anything to do with, you do revenue share. If you do that in the process of doing sales, you get agents that want to come to you, right? Yeah. Well, there's a whole nother, that's not even factoring in the revenue part component of just in the course of normally doing business. And he goes, holy crap, dude, that's like, I mean, I knew it was a good deal. It made sense to do it, but like, I didn't think through what does that mean over the next 20 years? He's like, that's a game changer too. Like, that's a generation changer for your family. That is going to affect your grandchildren and your grandchildren's grandchildren if you have that kind of extra cash in your system. Yeah. And he's like, that's what I want. All right, cool. Hit the button. Ready to roll. But it's a matter of just making sure they see, what does this really mean in the grand scheme of things? Now, that was fairly extreme on normal production, but even if it's $500,000, if you had 500 more grand at the time you retired, would that be a big difference? I don't know. At the time you retire, you pay your house off cash. Like, doesn't matter what the mortgage, $500,000 mortgage, oh boy. Yeah. Pay off all your debts. So you have zero debt. Now you can live on way less. You can live way better on way less money because you don't have all the expenses. So how would you like to have your house paid off for you? Doing nothing more than what you're already doing.
Right. That's a cool thing. You're doing the same thing. It's just a different model.
A recruiter, just go out and sell houses, and people are like, hey, what the heck are you doing? Well, let me show you why I'm doing this. They go, oh, well, shoot, that makes sense. Cool. That's not a recruiter. That's somebody making sense. That's making sure other people are getting and being able to see that dream. You're doing the world a favor by helping people make good decisions and helping them have the scenario where they do change the trajectory of their family's lives. And you can do that here. People have been doing it here. And that's why they're all slobbery excited about it. That's why people get really silly in the way they talk about it. Because some of these people are seeing things like you would never have this in any other scenario. Away we go.